You know, so many people say that to me. I have no idea. We've always eaten what we wanted and everything. I never did have any children. I had a tubal pregnancy in early 50s when Joe and I was first married, and I never could have children. And so I've always enjoyed Bill's and Dan's, and they've shared them with me.
Oh.
And I married a really good man. Joe was a wonderful person. We never had any trouble at all. I never did hear divorce mentioned or mention it. We always just got along real good and everything. And after we got married, well, I started working then, and I worked for the government for 30 years. And Joe farmed the land down there around the town, and we had the old place out here that he kept cattle in and everything. And I don't have any idea. I never have. And I've outlived all of my folks. All right, Daddy was not as old as I am when he died, and Mother wasn't either, and my sister wasn't either. So I don't know. Daddy's had an aunt named Sarah Williams, and her two sons were deaf mutes, and she lived out on Old 9 going toward Marlton, and she died, and Daddy was going to go out there, and Mama said, I'm going with you, and she'd already said to Joe, will you go with me? And Joe said yes, and he said no, said you don't need to go, said we'll have to walk through the field to get up there, and you just don't need to go. And Mama said, I'm going with you. And so when they came back, Joe said, I'm just give out. Said, your daddy just walked on ahead of us 5 or 6 steps and said, I've drug your mother through that briar patch up there and back. And then one day Daddy came in to show you how good Joe was. Daddy came in and he said, Joe, are you busy this afternoon? Joe said, no, not especially. And he said, well, I wonder if you'd go with me. And Joe said yes. And Mama said, where are you going? And Daddy said, well, I'm going to, there was an old man that was a Civil War veteran, and he lived up 9, and he lived up the road, off of the road, and you was going to have to walk a piece to get to him. His name, I can think of his name most of the time. But anyway, he said, they want me to come up there and fix it to where his widow can get the pension, or this woman can get the pension. And he said, I'm going up there for him to make a will. And said, I'm going to have to carry my typewriter, and I want Joe to go help me. So Joe said, in other words, I'm going to carry the typewriter. Tilkey was his name. There's Tilkey still here. But Daddy took his typewriter up there, and he told Joe, he said, you can sign it too as a witness. And Joe said, well, I'll go with you.